On this episode of Star Trek Universe, it's part 2 of our SDCC coverage, plus more exciting news that's come out since. We also say goodbye to some old friends right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on two lifelong friends chat a little bit about Star Trek. My name's Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
Dave, you doing all right today?
Yeah, man. I dislocated my wrist last week.
What?
Yeah.
I don't even know you do that. The wrist joint's a complicated situation.
What you do is you try to lift a heavy medical filing cabinet out of the bed of a truck and then have the person who's helping you rock it back on your hand/wrist.
Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible.
I didn't know it was dislocated for a week. I've just been trying to do stuff like normal, and it's just like it was swollen and couldn't move it really very well. Couldn't grip anything. And I went to the doctor yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, that's dislocated." And he's like, "I'm gonna pull it, and it's gonna hurt." And popped it back in.
Oh lordy!
It still hurts like hell too.
That's terrible, my friend.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Ever tell you about the time
No, it's fine.
I thought I had dislocated my toe?
Mm-mm.
And so I spent a full day because I didn't do anything. Like nothing happened to my toe, and I woke up and it was sore and it got worse and worse. It was hurting really bad, and I had it happen before where my toe had come out of joint or whatever, and I just pulled it and it popped back in. I'd done it myself.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do this. So I spent the day trying to get it to pop back in. I was like, I was bending it and twisting it and trying to get it to pop back into joint like I'd done before, and I really mess with the thing all day long. All day, just pounding on it, pulling on it, yanking on it, like it's sore, but I'm trying to get this thing to work, trying to get it to go back in. And normally when this has happened a few times in the past, the same toe, it's popped back in the joint and it feels fine. So I'm like, surely if I just keep messing with this toe, it will feel better. Mm-hmm. And about, 10 p.m. that night, nothing had worked. I've been throughout the day just screwing with it. And then I realized it, like a memory popped into my head that the prior night I had gotten up in the middle of the night to go get some water and had kicked a door jamb so hard. And I'd totally forgotten this when I woke up the next morning. And it just the memory just flashed like a scene from a freaking, like a twist ending from a movie. And I was I broke my toe. And so I had broken my toe in the night and then spent all day just jiggling it and pulling on it and batting it and why won't it feel better? And it's broken. That's why. It's terrible. It still has yet to recover. Like my big toe on my right side. I mean, it's recovered. It's no longer broken, but it healed weird. My toe on the right side does not look like the toe on my left side. I'll show you sometime. It's substantially larger and it junks to the left or whatever. It's terrible. And it's all my own fault.
Oh, that's good.
Nope. It's bad. It's very bad. It's still sensitive. It's a really the structure of the story is beautiful. It's a good one.
Just like you're a caveman, just finding rocks and beating the shit out of your toe with. What's wrong with you?
It had worked before and it felt the same. So I was like, surely this is what happened. Yeah, I dislocated it again, and I normally just bent it under itself, bent it under my foot and pushed, and it would pop back in. And so I tried that a bunch. It just wasn't working. Yeah, but it was broken. It was really bad. Okay, so let's talk about SDCC. We talked about as many stories as we could get through last time. It's funny. Last time we talked, because our sleep schedules are so very different, it was the middle of the night for me. I was whatever. It was 2 a.m, and I was like, man, we've done an hour. I can't do more. I'm about to fall asleep on you.
Right.
And now I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to respond to everything. and you have just awoken.
That's right. Yeah. I've just woken up.
So let's Testy sleepily read the news, and I will brightly respond.
Sleepily read I thought I was pretty sleepily reading the news last time, honestly. I'm really bad at this.
Not a bad idea for a TikTok, sleepily reading the news. Like,
put some news in front of me. I'm going to read it sleepily no matter when I woke up. The GOP did what? Oh, this doesn't make any sense.
It's like all the terrible things going on in the world, and you just have like the sleepiest reaction. Aren't you reacting bigger? I'm sleepy. I also don't know what that means.
I'm bored, but kind of angry and petulant. Nothing they're doing is making sense. All right.
What's first on the? I mean, we have some obvious big news that's happened this week.
Yeah.
Sad news.
Absolutely. Over the past couple of weeks, we've lost quite a few people now, and this past week, in between these two, the SDCC parts, we sadly lost Nichelle Nichols, who played Uhura on Star Trek: The Original Series.
Yeah, man.
He was 89. And they said it was natural causes. So, it's sad. She was quite an inspiration to a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
And, as much as it's like every time you watch some sort of documentary that has her in it about Star Trek, you're like, she's going to tell the MLK story. Mm-hmm. And as a Star Trek fan who's been a Star Trek fan for many years, you're just like, oh, I know that story. I don't have to listen to it. But it really is a good story. It's an interesting story. She was going to quit Star Trek because she just wasn't getting a lot of screen time. That's, usually what the story says. Then she met Martin Luther King Jr. and he was like, Martin Luther King Jr., he said, don't leave because it's really important for, us to see you there and you're doing important work.
Mm-hmm.
And that made her stick around. Of course, her being there inspired Whoopi Goldberg to go on to act and think. Like, I believe Whoopi said, "Look, there's a black lady on the TV and she ain't no maid." That's what she told her mother. So, I mean, she was also been cited as an inspiration by Mae Jemison, who was an astronaut who wound up having a small cameo on TNG. Big deal that Nichelle Nichols was there.
Yeah, man. Not enough can be said about Nichelle Nichols and the portrayal of Uhura and like how big of a deal it is, and how many barriers it broke. Not only inspiring like a generation of people of color and women to be able to do their thing, but also like normalizing that for the culture and saying like, this is the future we're heading towards, like equality in the future. That's what's so beautiful. One of the most beautiful things about that original crew is that they did make it, as diverse as they could. And like, even if they weren't getting screen time, just seeing that diverse crew on the bridge is huge, and Nichelle is a huge part of that, and that's it. Just like it, it makes a generation of white dudes who love Star Trek too watching it and going like, yeah, that's normal. You know what I mean? Like me and you grew up watching Star Trek, going, yeah, that's normal. Like that is how people are people, and these are the characters that I love. We're sitting here. I'm really sad to hear that Nichelle has passed away, and it's like the fact that I have that connection probably leads into the way I feel about, racial equality in general. And like, that's, so it's not only inspiring people like her, but inspiring the entire world to change. And I think that's just so cool.
Yeah. And it's so funny to me because it's so strange to be in a society where you see, people are still complaining about, Sinequa Martin Green on Star Trek, or complaining about, and claiming it's now woke. And I'm like, to me, like, I feel like I don't understand, because when I watched Star Trek in the 80s, I never thought about the fact that she was on there. But of course, Star Trek would go off and I would watch, what's happening. So to me, it was like there, it was, but it's easy to forget that TOS was going on during civil rights.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that she could have a conversation with Martin Luther King about it, that's crazy to me. Like the fact that he was I don't know if you ever heard the sort of a conspiracy theory, but it's kind of weird and kind of true. A lot of the pictures from that era are color, but in most of our history books, they're black and white.
Yeah.
And it gives us this distance from the civil rights movement and a lot of the problems that we were having in our country. And it gives us this like visual distance. We're like, oh, that was a different time. But it's the same time. Like almost everything I've ever seen of Martin Luther King is in black and white, but it's the same time that Star Trek, this colorful, bright show that I think of as the future, was on the TV. Like that's just mind blowing to think about.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, Star Trek in color was a really big deal. Like it was their first. One of their first big shows, like,
but that's TV. But a lot of the photographs from that era were originally in color, and then in history books they're in black and white. And it's like a thing, it's like a thing they do, and it's weird.
Yeah, I wonder if that's not for cheapness, but
no, absolutely. Like I said, it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
But whether it's like intentional or not, I don't think of those eras as the same era. Is my point?
No, I agree.
I'm not saying it's like necessarily intentional. I'm saying like. Whether it's cheapness, whether it's whatever, it's like this is printed in a way that makes me feel like it's much longer ago than this other thing that I spent all my childhood watching,
Let me be clear. Because my sister and I are really into conspiracy podcasts and conspiracy theories in general and UFOs and aliens and all that shit, spiritualism, I feel very compelled to be like, I don't believe this shit. So I'm gonna let me just put up a hand and be like, it's probably this.
Yeah, no.
People get real upset with you when you talk about shit like this.
Yeah, no. I my point is not necessarily that it is a conspiracy theory. That is a conspiracy theory, but like,
yes,
it is also the effect is the same regardless. Is my point.
It is. Yeah,
but it does this weird mind trick on us. But the fact that she's fighting that fight and like she's fighting that fight on the TV and Martin Luther King himself is like telling her that that's what needs to be done. And he's so right. He's just so right. It's like a generation of us grew up, believing more in equality than we would have otherwise. And that's just super rad.
Yep. We also lost a couple weeks ago. We lost David Warner, who passed away at 80. He had been battling cancer for the past 2 years. And, dude, he's been on like everything. The Omen, Cross of Iron, Time Bandits, Christmas Carol, Titanic. He was St. John Talbot in Star Trek V. He was Chancellor Gorkon in Star Trek VI. He was Gul Madred on Chain of Command and Next Generation. The
There
dude that
Are Four
made
Lights guy, yeah.
Yeah, There Are Four Lights guy. And as I know him best though as the voice of Ra's al Ghul on Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, same. That's looking at his credits. I mean, obviously, I know those iconic Star Trek moments, but like probably the place I've heard his voice a lot is watching Batman the Animated Series.
It's weird because in my memory, like there's that scene in Star Trek VI where his character is dying. He's just been assassinated, and Kirk is like looking down at him upside down, and he reaches up and touches Kirk's cheek and says, "Don't let it end this way," and passes away. Mm-hmm. In my memory, I hear, "Don't let it end this way, detective," because of Ra's al Ghul. He's always calling Batman detective.
Yep, I love it. That's funny.
So Paul Sorvino passed away, and we know him as Paulie on Goodfellas, but we also know him from Star Trek as Nikolai Roshenko, Worf's brother from Next Generation. He's Mira Sorvino's dad. He's been in a ton of stuff too. But yeah, he passed away as well. 83 years old. All these people are so old. I just don't think they should be this old. Like, I feel like there's a glitch in the Matrix.
Nope. It's just that we're old now.
Shut up.
Sorry, man. I'm going to hold up this mirror to you and let you know.
Yeah. I don't want to see that shit.
No, that's really what this does. Like, when I hear this, like, I saw someone post, and I mean, this speaking of this is going to make you sad. I feel like more so than I.
Probably. I'm really a depressed person.
Well, and you're particularly depressed. You get more depressed about character or like actors passing away than I do. It makes me sad. It's a bummer, but like you've in the past had a strong reaction when actors die, I think, than I do.
Depends on who it is.
Yeah. But I just like seeing there was a meme going around about the original crew and like Nichelle dying and moving on, and like it was a meme where like basically they were all on the ship of the bridge of the Enterprise, and it was her greeting all the other people who've passed away, and it's like so many of the original crew have now passed. I saw that meme. George Takei and
George Takei is still alive.
No, I'm saying that who's left right now of the main crew, like George Takei and William Shatner.
George Takei, William Shatner, Walter Koenig.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, that meme did not depress me. It made me angry.
No, I didn't even read the whole meme, to be honest.
Yeah,
I just saw it. It was
cheese.
Oh, it was super cheese, but it's still like just the thing that I'm pointing out is that it highlighted to me how many of the original crew have passed, and I was just like, damn.
Yeah,
that's a bummer, and that makes it. It really does feel like just the end of an era, the end of like the last vestiges of that era passing on.
Mm-hmm. You know? And it's weird to think that, like, Patrick Stewart is like 10 years younger than Shatner, who is like in his 90s. It's just weird, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, next generation people are going soon.
Yeah. Well, and they've tricked my brain to. I mean, Patrick's getting on up there, but they've also made him older on Picard. Yeah. And so, like, I have even like an older image of him in my head now, and I'm like, how old is he? He's 103.
They can show me how old they think he is on Picard, but I can't get over how old I saw him in Logan.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just like, he's just a little frail man. Hugh Jackman has to carry him around to movie premieres.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some of this news.
Yeah, SDCC, let's do it.
We were going to talk about, we left off at the Lower Decks trailer, but I'm going to pop back because there's a bunch of Star Trek Picard stuff that just dropped.
Okay.
So I'll just kind of pepper these in. So the fans have been conjecting over, the multiple Enterprises thing.
Oh, yeah.
And Terry Matalas, the showrunner on Picard, tweeted, it's not what you think. So what the F are they talking about then? Get it? What the F? Cough. Okay, I'll see myself out. Seems to indicate that the Enterprise F is going to be...
I figured that was one of the options.
Featured.
Yeah.
And then Soy Trek on Twitter says, I think he's hinting that the show is going to take place on the Enterprise F.
I feel like it's not going to take place on the Enterprise F.
Right. And Matalas said it's not, but ...
I bet they'll be like fighting the Enterprise F or some shit.
Or it'll just feature for a second.
Right. It'll be there in some way, but I could totally see like, like we've said, classic Kirk adventure where like they have to take the Enterprise D out of mothballs and like take it on a joyride, and the Enterprise
just
F.
Like quoting Scotty from Melix now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Matalas also talked about Worf's new blade, the Kurlith, which was designed by the creator of the Batleth, Dan Curry. And he says, yes, you will see him use it on Star Trek Picard. And someone responded to this. TR Reviews said, so I saw somewhere you said Worf wasn't a captain, but this trailer shows him with 4 pips on his uniform. Was this a mistake with the costume department, or is Worf really a captain? And Terry says, in rank only, and not what you expect.
Gotcha.
Stu MC asks, are you still using the backstory that was established for Star Trek Picard originally and used in a novel that Worf took command of the Enterprise E after Picard left? Or has that changed? And Terry says, you'll just have to see. I'm just saying, that's not where we meet him here. He's on another track. One related to the Dominion War. Now I've said too much.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Just a good acknowledgement of the Dominion War is exciting.
Yeah. And Metalis said on a podcast interview last month, the fallout of the Dominion War is important in the plot of season 3.
Oh.
I am very excited about this.
That is so exciting for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, do you think that... Okay, well, this gives me speculation brain. So, if we think it has something to do with the Dominion, okay.
Uh-huh.
But we also know that this season's, season 2 ended with this big, some sort of enemy is coming through the gate, or something is coming through this big wormhole that's being created.
Yeah.
If Dominion factors in strongly... Could this be Dominion reprisal for the Dominion War? Like future Dominion, or the changelings are coming back through whatever.
Maybe. I don't know. But I have wanted to see. I don't really want to see more Dominion. But I do want to see. I do want to see Fallout. Yeah, that was one of those things where the Dominion War ended in the last episode.
Right. And so we don't know how it affected the universe.
Right.
Exactly.
Nobody really ever touched on it because Voyager is in another part of the galaxy. Mm-hmm. Enterprise was 200 years before.
Yep. I feel like they've mentioned it on Picard here or there.
No, they have. They mentioned it in Insurrection too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hasn't been heavily featured in any way.
Right. I'd love to see it really looked at. What's up with the Cardassians? What's up with the changelings? What's up with the Jem'Hadar? Have they gotten their freedom?
I'm up for keeping up with the Cardassians.
It's
so dumb.
It would be such a funny thing if we without mentioning why, we just covered keeping up with the Cardassians on this show. We were confused, but we never acknowledged. It'd just be a weird bit that we did for years.
And I just keep complaining about, how they don't aesthetically look like the original Cardassians.
Yeah, it's probably just some genetic disease. It's fine.
Yeah, they got a little bit of that augment.
Exactly.
That augment DNA that made the Klingons all smooth. And what's weird is it keeps making them more and more smooth.
Yeah.
Every year they get smoother.
More smooth, more round in places. I don't know. It doesn't... Yeah. Something's weird with this genetic differences.
It's making their lips swell. Their lips and their ass. Swelling beyond reasonable measure. So anyway... Terry says LaForge is a Commodore.
Ooh, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those weird rankings you don't hear about often. TOS had one. I think maybe DS9.
And Commodore's between Captain and Admiral. Is that right? Commodore's between Captain and Admiral, correct?
Hell, I don't know. A lot of the captains that I know on Star Trek become admirals immediately. They get promoted to admiral.
Right.
I don't know what the hell admiral. I don't know what Commodore is.
I guess to me, Commodore sounds like it's like a person who runs a small group of ships, and to me, admiral feels like it's over the fleet or something. Maybe,
but not all admirals run the fleet. I think that I have seen people. Well, I don't know because. I was gonna say Commodore is is the captain of the fleet, but then again, people refer to them on Star Trek as captain of the fleet. So, man, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell a Commodore is.
Yeah,
and
a naval officer of high rank, in particular, an officer in the U.S. Navy or Coast Guard, ranking above captain but below rear admiral. So it is
below
it's the
rear admiral.
Yeah, it is the spot between admiral and captain.
Okay, we still see it a lot in Star Trek.
Yeah. It gives him someone to be above him. That way he's still like raging against the machine, you know?
Right.
As LaForges want to do.
Right. He does something against the machine. That holodeck simulation he had with Leah Brahms, man. A little less rage against the machine and a little more rub against the machine. And if he's anything like Scotty, being the chief engineer, he's doing a lot with that engine that is not sanctioned by Starfleet Command. Aye, she was the first woman I ever truly loved. You never love a woman quite like that.
I am so pumped to see LaForge. I would definitely watch a LaForge like series. It just give me like 6 seasons of, you know, Geordi LaForge running, like being a Commodore. I mean, that's the other thing. Like I said, the thing about Rage Against the Machine, that's a joke because like it is sort of true that you get like on Star Trek, we never follow the people above Captain because Captain's where all the action is, but it's also you have tension on both sides. You have tension of how to help your crew, and then the people above you giving you orders. So you have that sort of that provides for lots of types of stories. We've never really seen like someone in a position above Captain having to make those larger decisions and having that be the basis of stories, you know. And I think having Geordi do that would be super cool.
Yeah, no, I'm down for it. But you know, again, I was probably going to start watching Jeopardy if he hosted full time. That's like LeVar Burton, man.
Yeah, me too. Him and Data, and that's why I think it's so sad for me that Data, I feel, has not been treated well in the series so far, because him and Data, I don't like what they've done with Data. Or Brent Spiner. Honestly, just the whole use of the Soongs, I just haven't enjoyed.
It's not what I would have chosen.
Yeah, I don't like it. You know, it's fine. It's fine. It's not like there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying it's like empirically wrong or whatever. I just don't like it. I just, him and Data are the thing that brought me into Star Trek. You know what I mean? Like him and Data are the thing that like my parents put this show on every week and I was forced to watch it. But him and Data, the relationship and like their friendship and like the sort of just, they were, for whatever reason, they fascinated me immediately after a few episodes. I was like, what's what happened with the robot and the guy with the cool visor, you know, who's kind of geeky, and I feel like I understand him, you know what I mean? It just felt those were the characters I connected with off the bat, and you know, which led to everything else I love about Star Trek. And so you know, I want them to be treated well, and I just want LaForge to get like some cool stuff to do. Yeah,
man, I get it. As far as the villain goes, Terry Matalas said it is not Sayla, because you know, other people like me were going, "What if it's Sayla? Oh my god!"
He listened to the podcast.
No, he doesn't listen to this podcast. He'd be like 3 dick jokes in and be like, "Okay, click."
How do you know Terry Matalas's taste for dick jokes? He might love them.
You might love Dick. I don't know.
That too.
I don't know anything about the guy. 12 Monkeys. I know about that. I know he did that.
The show, not the movie. We've talked about it a million times. I always get confused. When you say 12 Monkeys, my brain always goes, ooh, no, wait, I remember now. It's the show.
So yeah, he says it's not Sayla, it's a new character. But but there is definitely a nod to Tasha in the new season. And as far as who's playing them, he says, "I've never said they were a huge star to a different person." He says, "I said you've seen them many times before."
Okay, seen them many times before. Okay, but not.
So I guess they're recognizable,
right? Okay.
And now I just hope it's Jeffrey Combs.
I was about to say, that's exactly what I was about to say. Jeffrey Combs would, make it Jeffrey Combs.
But what's funny, Terry Matalas is also really funny. He posted this picture of like, he said, "Guess who's back?" And he posted a picture of Armus with an old man beard. Armis is like the oil creature from Skin of Evil who killed Tasha Yar.
That's actually a really funny bit. We like do a complete parody of that the ad we got, or like the first look we got of Picard season 3, but just have it like panning around the faces of various like creatures from the Star Trek lore, all with beards. It's good.
I can do that.
I like it.
That'd be fun. All right, let's pop over and actually talk about this Lower Decks season 3 trailer real quick. I enjoyed this trailer a whole lot. I loved seeing Cisco's Creole Kitchen. Discover the Undiscovered Country made me laugh. Starfleet isn't all about getting fed fruit by erotic aliens with slightly different nose ridges made me laugh. I'm pretty sure we saw Martok, General Martok.
Yeah.
The Search for Justice, obviously a Star Trek 3 season 3 reference. All of their like posters have looked like Search for Spock parodies. Poster parodies. But I did catch a Star Trek 2009 orbital skydive.
Yes, which is just fun to make that canon to this universe in a weird way.
Yeah. And of course the brilliant, I don't know, just circle around and pretend we're in all of the pylons.
Just keep circling.
Those are my favorite bits. What did you see that you liked?
Man, I love so much of it. There's a lot of weird stuff in there, but like the stuff I like all the tight continuity. I like that the Cerritos is still damaged from last season. You know what I'm talking about? Like all the they removed all the plating, and it looks like they're gonna have to steal it while it's still like before it's repaired, which is fun.
Yeah, Star Trek 3, man.
Cisco's Kitchen. Also, Cisco's Kitchen, they're all wearing Bajoran clothing. Did you catch that? At least very Bajoran style to me. Look at that stuff. Look at what they're wearing. It just looks like futuristic clothing. They even like joked about it during one of the panels with Leah Thompson. They were talking about like how Rutherford has an asymmetrical purple suit. Like, which is, and the Jack Quaid says that he got a vest, and Tawny Newsome said a vest, a real Jake Sisko looking vest. Well, that's what I was going to say. I thought all of that looked it looks very DS9 to me, which made me wonder if this Cisco's Creole Kitchen might be Jake's, and if it might be like on Bajor or something. Yeah, I don't know, but Tawny Newsome did say that her outfit looked like Picard's jacket from Insurrection. Yeah, I saw that. I also like that there's a job fair, and the job fair is like for the different like fleets. There's like a Starfleet, and off to the side there's just different kinds. I don't know. It looks like it's just funny to see Starfleet trying to recruit among other like much smaller. Like I don't know. It looks like maybe like a criminal organization. There's a name here. What does it say? Oh, it's just as archaeologists. It's just that's a real criminal organization, Matt. Well, I thought they had weaponry behind them. I couldn't see what it was. But no, it says archaeologists. But yeah, it must be like ancient weaponry that they're like digging up. But it's just funny to see them like at a job fair is silly, and her getting what looks like the captain's getting stored in. I'm sure it won't be, but it looks like carbonite. It does look like carbonite. A Star Wars. A little bit. More of a Star Wars joke, which is kind of funny. I mean, why not? They had an Indiana Jones reference in the thing. Yeah. No, for sure. Totally, why not? Just a lot of fun stuff. I love the Boimler getting suited up to go to whatever kind of battle he's going to, but he's like throwing in a bunch of just like Starfleet, looks like engineering gear in his little like tool belt. That was great. I love the clown Klingons, or as I like to call them, clown-gons. Right. And weird last moment. There's it's literally like one frame or two frames. There's like it's in that, I'm guessing it's in that Nightmare episode or whatever. I assume that's where the clown Klingons. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well. That's in the same shot. But later on, it cuts to, for like a split second, a dancing wolf, like what looks like a werewolf.
Yeah.
It's like a dancing werewolf in
It's a Wendigo.
A what?
It's a Wendigo.
What is that?
It's sort of like I think it's Canadian, but I think it's basically like a wolf / Bigfoot thing.
Yeah.
It's white.
Okay. Well, there's some sort of, I guess, Wendigo. Or what I would say is looks like a werewolf, but he's wearing a command uniform and dancing with a top hat. And then to the left, there's a clown gon playing a trombone, but it has batleths for arms. And then there's what looks like a snake, but it's been turned into a Borg. So it's just like a mismatch of Star Trek and horror, like all mushed together. And I just think that's so funny. I don't know I don't get the purple. There's a little like purple aliens that I don't get the reference.
Okay.
But they're in a couple shots in the trailer too. It just looks like a lot of fun, man. This show continues to be fun.
Yeah. And we saw Peanut Hamper, the XO device that became sentient.
Oh, the one that Jeffrey Combs played or whatever?
No.
Peanut Hamper.
Peanut Hamper was
I don't know what you're talking about. Is that something they say on the show? Peanut Hamper? Or is that something you're calling
that's the name. Like that's what Tandy named Peanut Hamper. It's an exo comp.
Okay. I'm legit don't know what you're talking about. Please continue. What were you saying? What's Peanut Hamper?
I'm gonna send you a picture of the exo comp.
Okay. Like Cisco's looks like it's in like Earth. Like it looks like it's on Earth. Just the outside. But the clothes look so futuristic to me. I just thought they looked so Bajoran to me. But maybe it's just because DS9 is the show where we get the most use of like civilian clothing. You know? Yeah,
I think it looks just like, all the TNG DS9 future clothing.
That's right. Oh, yeah, I do remember this thing that you just sent me. Yeah, the Exo that becomes... Exo comp that becomes sentient. And I'd completely forgotten it.
Yeah, there was also one on TNG that was a big deal. But yeah. So I thought this was interesting. McMahon was talking about, this is the showrunner for Lower Decks, was talking about season 3. And he says there's epic episodes, there's heartfelt episodes. The Deep Space Nine episode is out of control. We got the nefarious Exocomp Peanut Hamper returning. And then Leah Thompson asked Alex Kurtzman how they maintain continuity between all 5 shows.
Great question.
As well as the past series. And he talked a little bit about the showrunner meetings that we've been kind of starting to hear about. He says it's crazy because now with 5 shows, you really have to make sure you're not stepping on each other's toes. And there's a lot of crossover because everybody wants to play with the same damn toys. So what we do now is every 2 months, I would say, all the showrunners get together and we all talk. And each person downloads what they're doing over the season, what they're thinking about doing over the season, the characters that they want to use. Sometimes there are characters that actually cross-pollinate between different shows. We just have to make sure we're synchronizing how that works. And he lamented that because of those meetings, he knows everything that's going to happen, and now he doesn't get to watch Star Trek anymore.
Oh, I've thought a lot about that. If you're like making stuff, it does seem so sad, especially when you're like making movies, because if you're making your favorite movie, right? Like if you really get to make your favorite movie. That's so cool. But also, the thing you're making, you not only know what happens, but you spent like, an entire 2 years working on the same, like, 2 hours of movie. You know what I mean? It's like, it seems torturous in a weird way.
Yeah. There's definitely a part of me that would be like, yeah, I know. I'm absolutely, if someone lets me be in charge of Star Trek, I'm absolutely going to do that.
Yeah, you can't not, of course. You take the job.
But then I'm already lamenting the fact that whenever my time is over, I'm going to be like, well, that's a huge chunk of Star Trek I can never watch again.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because one, I hate everything I do, so it's automatically shit. 2, I'm going to be so sick of it.
Right. Completely.
I'll just never want to see it again.
Yeah, but then you get to hear these guys who actually make the stuff, and they're like, "What happened that season?" You know, they don't remember like half the stuff they did. You know.
Yeah.
Or you hear these like rewatch podcasts where like people are rewatching the show they were on, which is so unfair to us mere mortals trying to make these podcasts. It's like these days that kind of podcasting is getting popular enough that like, you know, people from the shows are making it. And so it's like, it's so funny to, but like you'll hear them be like, yeah, I didn't remember this episode, but now it's jogging my memory. It's fun.
By the way, I accidentally kind of skipped over this. Leah Thompson did ask the Lower Decks cast if they were really going to DS9, and McMahon responded with a resounding yes. He says, "We circle Deep Space Nine, we check out the pylons, and then we go into Deep Space Nine, where we will walk the promenade. We will enjoy the Cardassian architecture." Newsom says, "Will someone lick a Jumja stick?" McMahon says there's Jumja sticks, and you might see some friendly faces in there. It feels to me like one last walk around DS9. Like it's a really great episode. So yeah, I kind of meant to go back to that.
No, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like I am hopeful, but I don't know, man. I'm torn. It's kind of like they're saying like, oh, everybody wants to play with the same toys. Like DS9 to me is the best Star Trek's ever been. I love DS9, and I want continuations of those characters. So them saying it's one last walk around DS9, I'm like, no. Like if you're remaking all this stuff, let's remake it all.
He said one last walk around DS9. He didn't say like one last visit with the characters.
Sure. But I guess my point is this show is really good at making references to the old stuff, but it's not like they've wrapped up stories. You know what I mean? It's not like we haven't ever really gotten. I mean, we got like a glimpse of, you know, Riker, a good chunk of Riker like running the Titan, which was fun. But like we knew he would eventually do that, and so there's like these little things, but like. I would love to get an actual check-in with those characters, but do I want it to be on Lower Decks? Part of me, I'm like, yes, I'll take whatever I can get. And part of me is like, no, like give it, like do it really right. You know, like let me see these characters in earnest, you know?
Yeah. And then you look at Picard and you go, not like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are elements of Picard I really like, but it sucks because like I said, grew up on freaking Data being one of my favorite characters. At least he brought me into the world, and like he's my least favorite part, I think, of those shows. Like
he birthed you.
Yeah, he birthed my little Star Trek brain.
Honestly, man, I think a lot of it, and I hate to say this, I think a lot of your issues with Data, I think is Brent Spiner. Like I think it's because of what he wanted.
Oh, I agree.
For Data.
I agree. I think it should have been harder on him. I think if they were like, I think it's a lot of it's he doesn't want to do the same thing. He wants to be creative and just like, but you don't have to do the same thing. There is subtlety, and there can be extreme subtlety with Data. And like, that's something that I think Brent Spiner used to understand. And now he's like, I don't want to go back and be this emotionless robot. I want to show my range, and look at me. I'm a maniacal Elon Musk type. And now I'm a old man who wants to kill all the biologicals, and now I don't know. He wants to jump around and do all the different things, and I don't know. I just would love to see the character I love have like real growth and movement and change, and there's still room for that, even though they supposedly killed him off.
Yeah, there should be like, you know, copies of them or something.
Yeah.
They could do whatever the hell they want.
They absolutely can.
Going back to Lower Decks.
Was that B4 or was that Lore that they got a storage in season 1?
B4.
Okay.
We don't know where Lore is.
Okay, yeah.
All we know is that Lore was shut down at the end of Descent Part 2, and we've never seen him again.
Yeah.
We assume Starfleet has him.
Right. Like that would be, I would watch it for Lore. I'd watch him do Lore again.
Yeah.
I wish that the writers would keep their actors under control a little bit. It sucks to say, but like I feel like when you're the talent, you're a great actor. You should like respect the good writers they're bringing on to do a good thing, and not like make them write the story to your own personal experience so much, or make you get to do the acting thing you want to do.
Producers don't have as much control as you hope they do. When it gets to this point where all these people are like beloved and they're not going to come back unless they get to have some say.
Exactly.
It's like how Whedon wouldn't deal with freaking Ed Norton playing the Hulk. It was just like, we're not going to agree, are we? It's like, okay, I'll just recast. We're good.
Man, what a great decision too. And like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think in general, you need the writer to be the writer. You need to take inspiration, cues from the fans, cues from the actors, and change your story when it needs to change. When like things are obviously like there to change and like there's beauty. You find beauty in the process of making the show. But like, I think that the writer needs to be the writer still, and still have those like, it does seem like they are letting the actors really run the show a little bit. And it annoys me because I don't feel like we're getting the things like, if you're just looking objectively, like, what do I want a season of Picard to wrap up? And I don't feel like I'm getting that so far.
Yeah. I think it was one of the old showrunner of Bones was explaining how showrunning works. And he said, in season 1, you're the boss as the showrunner. In season 2, they're the boss.
That's terrible.
Like, once the star has recognition, they're the boss.
Yep. That's tough. And that's such a power struggle. And I think the ones that work well is when the actors don't get so high on themselves and they trust the showrunners. And showrunners should be able to say, like, yeah, you're like, it's just an impossible power struggle, because like the showrunner, the actor wants to believe that the only reason that character is popular is because they're wonderful portrayal, and the writer wants to believe, and I tend to believe that most of the time the characters are popular because they were written well or done well. I think it takes both. It's both.
You gotta have both
for sure.
So, a fan asked about the Gorn wedding seen in season 1 of Lower Decks, and said that meeting the Gorn raises a lot of questions. Are these the same Gorn that we see in Strange New Worlds? And if so, what was that reception like? McMahon fielded that one. He says, all right, let me tell you something about Gorn weddings, everybody. Now, Strange New Worlds, there's a couple of centuries difference. And you go to where Gorn live. Not every planet has to be this monoculture. Just like Divana Tendi is Orion, not all Orions are controlling people with their pheromones. You've also got Orions joining Starfleet. Maybe not all Gorn are going to be treated like this extremely scary thing that bursts out of you. And sometimes they fall in love and get married. And Jack Quaid said, and it's beautiful. Please don't stereotype the Gorn just because they're terrifying. In an interview with Screen Rant, Tawny Newsome says there are new guest stars that she is hugely excited about. She says there are actually both Star Trek and non-Star Trek guest stars. So I'm really excited about some of the friends and folks I know, the actors I know who are doing small roles and cameos and bigger roles. They're so good at grabbing talent. And so to me, it's like, I'm always looking forward to seeing what's going to pop up on Lower Decks, because I feel like I don't ever really know.
Yeah.
A little bit of what we can expect. Mike McMahon says, for Rutherford, you'll be learning more about the backstory of how he got the implant this season in a really fun way.
Cool.
On Tendi, she's got a new gig, which is instead of being full medical, she's being swapped over into senior science officer training. On Boimler, season 3 sees him taking a different path where he becomes a little bit more confident. It earns him some respect, but it also takes him into some tough spots. Oh, Tawny Newsome says there's going to be revelations in episode 1 about Boimler's heritage back on Earth. It's responsible for one of her favorite small throwaway jokes that will kind of redefine how you look at Boimler. Who
do you think's in his heritage?
I don't know. She did say it was like a small throwaway joke that like hugely redefines the character and the Star Trek universe.
Yeah, I could see it being like his mother was a Kirk.
That'd be fun.
And then you start like seeing how like this young, like, you know, upstart kid who like isn't confident sort of becomes, and that, you know, it's end of season 7 of Lower Decks could be him stepping into like a more command role or something. You know what I mean? Like sort of like him growing towards what he needs to be. And that would be interesting, especially if you found out his parentage is that. It's almost like pointing at the stands and being like, you know, him as Boimler, but he has this potential, you know? Or it could be something crazy like, you know, his parent was some sort of supernatural being or so, you know what I mean? Like something so silly, like a Cisco joke, especially in the DS9 episode. It could be that they like find out his mother was a wormhole alien, and you're like, what? And then like he's also got some destiny, like a whatever. Those are the two things that pop in my head.
His great grandfather was a koala.
His destiny is tied to the wormhole aliens, right? But it's something really stupid. Like he was intended to bring the wormhole alien a Coke at some point. So they that's how they manipulate the universe. They like have to like create children out in the world to like serve them. And like, but his destiny was something very small.
Yeah, I'd be down with that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Over to Strange New Worlds, they did a series of media video interviews, and the actors talked a little bit about what we can expect in season 2. Anson Mount says that the second season takes bigger swings, and he says to Collider, when you have a new story every week or a new planet every week, you can also change the mode and the tone. And so we've been really pushing the boundaries with that in the second season and seeing how many different kinds of genres and things we can get away with, and being able to invite many different kinds of directors with many different kinds of styles.
That definitely goes well with the story we heard about them doing a Lower Decks crossover. That reminds me of Community. You know what I mean? Like when they would do like
Me too.
Yeah. That's cool.
They just do like a Law and Order episode.
Yeah, or a claymation episode or whatever. Like this is very much what we've talked about wanting to see from Star Trek.
Yeah. Peck says that Henry Alonzo Myers describes season 2 as, that's the co-showrunner, describes season 2 as season 1 on steroids. Oh, they did confirm that most of the Lower Decks crossover is going to be in live action, with Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid appearing as live action versions of their characters.
That's really, really awesome. I'm guessing it's just them two then, probably. I was kind of hoping we'd get Rutherford and Tendi as well.
We might. I mean, I think pretty much everyone but Shax could be their character in live action.
What is Shax? Well, they could always do like a different actor with that voice. You know what I mean? Like they could like put an actor who looks like him and keep the same voice actor or something crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, Mount says it's predominantly live action for everyone involved, but there are animated elements at different points. He says he thought it was going to be Roger Rabbit with animated characters following them around. But once they explained it to him, he's saying, no. It was like, oh, that's actually kind of brilliant the way it's been done.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I am really excited about that.
So all of this stuff, I'm really excited about all of these things. But man, I wish I didn't know that was happening. Like that thing in particular, I'm like, man, if like we just had an episode of Strange New Worlds and Boimler and Mariners just showed up like fully with their voices and looking enough like them, I was like, I'd be like mind blowing right now. What is happening?
Yeah. Like I do somewhat miss the days when you and I would watch an episode of DS9. And then, you know, we were like, yeah, that was a pretty good episode. And then it says next time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And we see like the freaking original Enterprise, and it's like an ad for Trials and Tribulations. And you and I lost our damn minds.
Yeah, exactly.
And then had to wait a whole week.
And now we get these like weird, you know, press releases and it's like fun to talk about for sure. But part of our problem is we think of it we think of so many things that it could be, and then it ends up not. They give us these little nuggets, and we run with them and make them bigger in our brains than they are. Because this appearance of the Lower Decks characters, I'm expecting a full episode of that. Like, I'm expecting that they do some sort of time travel, and we see like an entire episode of them on the ship. But it could just be like a throwaway joke. You know, it could be like a one sequence thing or whatever. You know,
like what's the alternative? Like, because they can't just not say anything, because if they don't give all this exciting information, they get lost in the crowd of bullshit now. There's so much to watch.
I agree. The thing you want to do is give enough information to excite, but keep a few things back that are important and hit hard enough that you still get it. You still get the surprises. And that's one that I'm like, that's a really good idea and fun idea. It also makes me excited for the series, but it's hard because us as fans, we're going to watch them anyway. And then it's like, we're going to watch these shows. So I would rather almost everything be a surprise, but I also like all the speculation and fun too. So it's tough. I'm really excited because Marvel has done a really good job lately with a few big surprises that I did not expect at all. And that's made me really excited. Or at least, like, it's not that I didn't expect it at all, but I didn't know before I went to the theater. I didn't know half the stuff that was going to be happening in Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, I also intentionally avoid spoilers after a certain point. Like, I watch the trailer, like the first 2 trailers, then I stop and I try to stay away from all the news. And because after that, most of it's like leaks and stuff, or like, toy leaks and stuff. I stay away from all that. And I just try to like watch the movie. And so No Way Home did some stuff that really surprised me. Same thing with the Multiverse of Madness. Like, those got me really good, and I think that Marvel is learning that lesson, and I'm hoping Star Trek will do the same, and maybe it will. Maybe there's other surprises in the season that will completely shock me. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
But
like, if I didn't know they were going back to DS9 on Lower Decks, and then they did, my mind would be blown. You know?
Yeah. Anson Mount was talking about how he thinks the season, he says, I feel like by the end of season 1, we get to that acceptance of Pike's fate. So I think going forward, what you're going to find is a much more fully realized, self-accepting person with a healthy sense of joie de vivre. And he says, he told Collider, it's one thing to say that you've accepted something, and it's another thing to actually accept it. I've had the honor of meeting a few people in my life with terminal diagnoses who will say, I've never been more alive because I know the end point and I know how many days I have left and I'm going to live them to my fullest. I think that we're going to get to see a more fully realized, more accepting Pike who is making the most out of what he has left. That sounds like it really was just like him coming to terms, even though he's changing the timeline. Still. By bringing up Kirk's file and obviously bringing him onto the Enterprise this early.
Yeah.
They could say they're bending canon or whatever the hell they're justifying it with, but Kirk's not supposed to be there yet.
Yeah.
And so over on to IGN, Paul Wesley said he's playing a different Kirk in season 2. He says, anything you saw in the season 1 finale is strangely not applicable because it is an alternate timeline future. So when we meet Kirk again in season 2, there's no memory. He's meeting Pike for the first time. He's a young lieutenant. He's not a captain. He doesn't have that formidable Shatner-esque quality. And I think that he does take some mentorship and he has a high degree of respect for Pike for sure. And then he's told TV Insider in season 1 finale, he's an alternate version of Kirk. We get the real Kirk in season 2. He's much younger. He's a little bit lighter. It's Kirk pre-Kirk, basically. We're going to see pre-Kirk trying to figure out who he is as a lieutenant on the Farragut, and he's going to show up in unexpected places at unexpected times. And he told Collider, I'm looking forward to season 2 because Kirk gets to let loose a little bit and have a little more fun and not be alt future timeline Kirk. He gets to be young Kirk in the original series canon. So I'm excited to explore that. He says he thinks there's going to be an interesting arc for Kirk in season 2.
I like that they're acknowledging that the Kirk we saw was very different and a lot heavier than I feel like the Kirk of the original series, you know?
Yeah. Of course, I guess he must have been because he had so many ladies after him or he was like in relationships with women that he would from the past that would come. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, we were together," but the way they described Kirk when he was younger was so not like fun. They always talked about him like he was like this very like studious, very serious, tough as nails kind of cadet,
right?
Who became a lieutenant and had taught classes at the academy and shit. Mm-hmm. So like it's when they're like, he's lighter and more fun. I'm like, is this another instance of you not getting Kirk?
Well, it's one thing to be studious and be good at things. I think there's a little bit of that with like the Chris Pine version, where like he's still the smartest guy in the room, like still impressive, but he's got a wild streak to him. Which I mean, that's what makes Kirk fun. Is he's like exceptional at what he does, but he's also like an affable, fun person, and like he also has like a zeal for life, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I'd like, I don't know. I guess I want my Kirk to have a little bit of a zeal for life. The version that we got in the last episode here felt just way too self-serious for me. And I'm not saying like Kirk didn't take himself seriously, but Kirk also just like there's just a bit where you think Kirk gets the galactic joke of it all, you know?
Yeah. I see, I don't know how much of it is me like headcanoning certain things, because Kirk is very flippant, but he's also like really like in a lot of ways he's like super by the book.
Right.
Until it matters, until it's like a really big deal and you're like, no, I'm going to go save my friend from the planet. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and even in those moments, he takes joy in the really like, it's almost like the big moments that like are so life-threatening seem like where he finds even more playfulness in the character of Kirk, which I find really interesting. Like when he's standing on the view screen facing off with like the biggest enemy they've ever faced, he finds like weird quirks and like ways of just throwing them off through like banter, and like it's psychological warfare in a way, but like that's one of the things that makes the character so much fun is when he says one moment, Khan, and he like puts on his glasses and shit, like that stuff kills me. Where is it, Khan, when he puts his glasses on?
Yeah, but I love the bit right before that where he realizes he can't see and he has to put on the glasses in front of the crew, and he pulls them out and looks at them and goes, damn it. Like, because he's totally in like midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things about the movies that's really fun, is because it's like in the original series, he was way more serious about all this shit. And now like in the movies, it's just like, I'm back on the bridge. Here we go. Like, he's also like seen such great like existential threats to humanity that he's just like, what is any of this if we're not having fun?
Yeah, it's that balance, man. You got to find that balance. And even, I mean, like if they're going to make Kirk super self-serious when he's younger, like as maybe you might think he would have been, I don't really want to see that era. I really don't have a desire.
Yeah, I can see that. But there's got to be like, when you look at it, there's got to be something. Because people who are that serious, I mean, they're not bagging all these women. And also, canonically, if we look at, the second pilot, the only way that Gary Mitchell said that he could get Kirk off his back was to like steer the little blonde number his way. Like he's acted like apparently the only way Kirk actually stops being serious for a second is to get distracted by women. Right.
So being a bit of a womanizer is another part of his character. So like, yeah.
Oh no, not womanizer. That's what they try to make it now, but he was like totally a serial monogamous back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know. we've had this conversation before. I know on the
we
cast.
have.
I'm not saying he's doing some terrible wrong or anything. Womanizer in the way that I'm using it just means he kind of does get with a lot of women, and it does seem like that is part of his story. If only because we've discussed it before, but it's like, and your case was something like, yeah, if you look at the original series, it's only like every however many episodes that he gets with a different woman. It's like, yeah, but that represents like 3 years. He's like on a different planet with a different woman. Like that's short. That's a short
79
time
episodes, and it's like 19 times he kissed a lady and 2 times he boinked her.
Right. Your description of these events.
I mean, what do you want from me, man? I mean, you want numbers? I'll give you the damn numbers.
I know. I'm laughing at your use of bagging the woman and use of boinking. Like, it's just the parlance that you are
When did
choosing.
I say bag?
He said if he was that self-serious, they're not bagging that many broads. And I took exception at the time.
I don't think I said broad.
You might not have said broads. But I put 50% more Norm Macdonald on it than you did.
You totally did, yeah. It's not even Norm Macdonald. That's like an old 40 sketch starring Phil Hartman. You're not bagging a broad.
Yeah.
So during the Q&A at Comic-Con, a fan asked Alex Kurtzman if there had been any discussions about looking again at DS9 and bringing us up to date on those characters. Kurtzman says, I'm trying to answer your question without revealing anything. I think you're always having conversations about the history of Star Trek. And obviously, Cisco is a critical figure for everybody. So conversations definitely have been had. Very interesting that he brought up Cisco specifically.
Yeah, it is. Very big. Cisco left to be like an omnipresent, whatever being. Like, I'd really like to know what his return means, you know?
Yeah. And he went on to say, what I'll tell you is that for us, we don't want to just launch into something without going, oh, we have now a new idea, a new reason to do it, a way to turn it into a new direction. So that's not just repeating the thing you've seen before, but it's honoring the thing that you love. So if we ever go down that road, other than what we're already doing on Lower Decks, I think we would all want to make sure that it was something from that place of being able to tell a new story while honoring the old one.
I respect that.
And, I'll tell you this, IDW is making, and it starts with a prelude in Star Trek number 400 in the comics that teases Gary Mitchell, it looks like. But the ongoing series, which will start in Star Trek number 1, the story is Captain Sisko returns, and he grabs Dr. Crusher from TNG, Data, a pre-Nemesis Data, and a couple other people, and they're going to be like, basically it's going to be like Sliders or Exiles, where they're grabbing people from the Star Trek universe, trying to stop the murder of the gods, whatever the hell that means.
Interesting.
And the way they've been kind of trying to tie like comics and books into what's going on is very interesting. But that does seem like a dope series.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Over to Star Trek Prodigy, dude, Aaron Waltke is saying some really cool stuff. We've got 40 episodes of Prodigy in total so far that's coming.
Right.
In April, it was revealed that writing for all of them had been completed.
Wow.
Waltke says right now we have 25 episodes in various states of production. It's different plates all spinning at the same time. It's pretty wild. I think we have some voice recording done at least up through the last 5 episodes. We're doing a storyboard handout of the finale for season 2, so that's how far ahead we are. He says, emotionally and structurally, it was designed to tell somewhat of a self-contained arc in each set of 10 episodes, but with plenty of story threads that you could pull it to have it continue on to the next. That's how I would prefer everybody see those 40 episodes. They are meant to be holistically telling a saga. Don't worry, the things that you want answered will be answered. The characters you want to see will be in there. And we spent a lot of time talking about this and figuring out where best to play that, so that it feels satisfying and worth the trouble, rather than just kind of dropping them in for 2 episodes and saying, haha, now that's wrapped up, goodbye. He says the tone will change from season to season on Prodigy. because the characters are growing up and we want our characters to grow up. We don't want Bart Simpson to be 8 years old for 20 years. And we want the real events of Star Trek that happen in canon to have an impact on our characters. So there's some stuff coming up in the 2380s that we're not just going to ignore. And he does the 40 episodes is not the fixed end of the series. He says, I don't see a limit. If I had my druthers, I would follow them right up through Starfleet Academy and getting assigned to their own ships and then becoming captain and then fighting in the Water Wars Part 2, because the story is not about them being children. It's about children at that crucial threshold of adulthood, seeing our characters truly sort of start in a place so far outside of Starfleet and then literally kind of come up through it, rise through the ranks. And I don't think we've seen that on a show before. And so, yeah, I just think that is really interesting that they're going to grow, they're going to age, they're going to change.
For sure.
Also, they just said that Jankum Pog is over 200 years old. Like he's actually a Tellarite from before the Federation was formed by the Tellarites, Andorians, humans, and Vulcans.
Wow.
So,
wow.
He was like cast out before that ever happened, so he didn't even know that was a thing.
If that's the case, how long was Jankum Pog imprisoned? Because Jankum Pog talks about being from his culture, and it sounds like it's not the Federation. So was he actually imprisoned before the Federation's existence?
I guess so.
Crazy. That's
either
wild.
that or he was just in the Delta Quadrant before that.
Right.
It seems like he was a scavenger, and then he got imprisoned at some point. So he was probably just a scavenger.
Right. Just not involved in the Federation.
But dude, Waltke's even talking about how like he's excited because like the Tellarite on Admiral Janeway's Dauntless ship is a 5-finger Tellarite. Like they're going into like the continuity errors now. Like, oh no, it's going to be like we're going to have a 5-finger Tellarite talking about like what it is to be a Tellarite now.
That's awesome. That is weird and fun. How
Jankum Pog deals with that. Like, yeah, that's a lot of fun. I'll say. No. And I love this. Like, he's saying that you'll see reflected in the next 10 episodes as Vice Admiral Janeway enters their lives and they start to see beyond just the theoretical, idealized utopian version of the Federation, but also the duty-bound version and what it means in practice to be a Starfleet officer making tough decisions. I'm so excited about Prodigy, dude. Like,
yeah, it sounds great. It sounds really, really great.
They're doing more connections, more legacy characters are coming. We've been talking to other shows, and even like Discovery, we're like, feel free to toss a Val Nakot in there. We're always talking and finding ways to find that stuff happen as best we can, finding ways to make sure they're all informed and part of a great tapestry, which in my opinion is one of the great triumphs of the Berman era, was when you had shows like DS9, which were like this connective hub that connected all of Star Trek together, and you'd see crossovers between them. And I don't think anybody has any interest in not continuing that tradition. More legacy characters are coming. It would feel disingenuous to never sort of reference any of the stuff that came before. Is there an element of small universe syndrome in that? Perhaps. But I also really love the episode Relics, where they just happen to stumble across Scotty on a ship 100 years later. However, I think that the important thing is not to have those legacy cameos come in and take over the story, because first and foremost, this is the story of our young Prodigy crew. And if we're going to bring in a new character, it's going to be for a very specific purpose. They're going to have some bearing on their journey. Kate Mulgrew said in an interview, she said that she's not just playing Admiral Janeway and Hologram Janeway. She's playing Captain Janeway, Admiral Janeway, and Hologram Janeway. I don't know what that means.
Interesting. I also don't know what that means. I mean, maybe we'll get a flashback or something. It seems that, I mean, the Prodigy is the name of the ship, right? I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And sorry, Progeny was what he called his daughter. Prodigy is the name of the ship. And then the drive is called something. What's the drive called?
I can't remember now.
I don't
Protostar.
Protostar drive. Yeah, sorry. I was like, is it a Protostar? Like, I was like, what's the name of the ship and what's the name of the crew? Yeah, whatever. But like that ended up in that place somehow. There's some sort of time travel hijinks that we still haven't really figured out. We know from that last episode that like he came back in time to stop the Federation from destroying its culture, but like, does that have something to do with Chakotay and Janeway, because Chakotay was on this ship. I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see where this goes.
Same, buddy.
Oh my gosh. I think that's it. That's pretty much it. Like, I kind of already talked about a bunch of this stuff. There are a few other things, like Jonathan Frakes said in an interview that he wanted to be involved in the birth of one of the Star Trek series. And Chris Pine says everyone's still waiting to find out what's up with Star Trek 4.
Okay.
They haven't heard anything.
I bet Jonathan Frakes wants to be involved in the birth of a show. You know what that means, right?
Sexton.
He wants to direct a pilot, man. That's what that means.
Oh.
Pilot directing is like the best job in
I've heard that.
all of TV show making, because when you direct a pilot, you get to establish the look and the feel of the show. But what that means is you get royalties on every time they use your look and feel for the rest of the show. So basically, you direct a pilot, you get money forever.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau directed the pilot of the Orville, and everyone was like, how did they get in there for that? I'm like, because he's going to make money forever.
Yeah. His fingerprints will forever be on that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like the character decisions, the everything being done on that show is a result of whoever directs that pilot. And that's cool. That's cool creatively, but then also you make money forever.
I do think Jonathan Frakes is a really good choice for someone to executive produce a show.
Yeah,
because he would be a good showrunner, I think.
I don't know what, because show running is more on the writer side, and I'm not saying he couldn't do that, but he's more on the director side.
I think it depends. I've seen people who were directors go on to be showrunners. But they still have a solid sense of story, and they can tell their head writer, "This is where I'm wanting to go. Let's do that." Right. There are a lot of different ways you can do this and get into this, and you can be a head writer and just become the showrunner. Yeah,
can you turn from just small time podcaster and just jump directly to showrunner? Can I do that?
I'm sure someone has.
That's actually probably true. There's all these shows are being sold. All these podcasts are being sold. These fictional podcasts or storytelling podcasts are getting sold as TV shows now. And a lot of the guys from I was listening to what was it, that show Startup? Did you listen to that show?
Yeah. From Gimlet, yeah.
Yeah. Their shows started being sold off as TV shows. Their podcasts, their fictionalized podcast or scripted podcasts, started getting sold off as TV shows. And they were talking about how they're making episodes of Startup, and they're talking about, for those of you who don't know, Startup is the show from Gimlet Media that chronicles the start of Gimlet Media, but they go through the entirety of the growth of the network and then the expansion of the network. And what they realize is basically, we make podcasts, but if we sell our podcast to Hollywood, we make a bunch of money. So we make good stories and then we sell those off to Hollywood and we make all this money. It's super clever, but it's because of that, they're suddenly went from being small, not small time podcasters. They're really big for podcasting, but podcasting is a small universe of people in basements with microphones. And suddenly they were on the sets of all these TV shows with Julia Roberts being one of their actors, and they're directing Julia Roberts all of a sudden. And they were like, what is going on in our lives?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Zach Braff is playing the founder.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That was a whole different,
That was an ABC show that got canceled.
Yeah. I was bummed out by that. I liked the show.
I never watched it. It just didn't look good to me.
Oh, I watched it mostly because I liked Gimlet, and I like Zach Braff too, but he's hit or miss, but I like Gimlet. I was interested to see the story. They just changed it so much. It's not the same story. It's very much, it was if they had made Startup the podcast into a TV show, that would have been interesting to me, but they made a an ABC sitcom, and it just had the storyline of Startup, Mm-hmm. He was at work making podcasts, but the story was just about his family. Which is, it's good, but it's not great. Yeah. It's nothing to write home about.
Knowing Zach Braff post Scrubs, I'm sort of man, it's gonna be he cheats on his wife and she kicks him out of the house, and then he smokes weed with Natalie Portman on the steps in the rain.
Right. Yell into a hole or something? I don't know.
While Iron and Wine plays endlessly.
No, it was not that. It was very much like trying to be just like a sitcom. Like just very much, it felt like a not as good Modern Family, you know?
Fair enough.
Okay. Well, guys, I guess that's about all of the San Diego Comic-Con news. Thanks, Dave, for collating all that. I really do appreciate it. It made the show a lot of fun to learn all the things, because I didn't follow any of the panels, unfortunately. I was busy with family stuff is the truth. I was about to say I was busy following the Marvel stuff, and then I was like, no, I didn't even get to follow those. I still had to like get somebody to present me with all the news.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. We will be back soon. Jolan True.
Live long and prosper. What was that other thing we said we were going to start saying?
Just keep circling.
Just keep circling. I thought it was something about cake. We did. We said it was something about cake for a long time.
I don't know that we did. I think you're just hungry. Man.
No. There was something from like Prodigy or
I think
there was something about cake.
There's a line. I think it's from Discovery. Isn't there a great line about cake from Tilly or something? That says like cake is inevitable or cake is eternal.
Cake is eternal. Yes, that was it. Yep. We said that for a few times. Okay.
I like just keep circling because it feels self-deprecating because it sounds like we're being flushed. It's like you're just keep circling. It's like you're going around the world, like time is passing, trip around the sun, but it's also like whoosh. Yeah. Feels appropriate for our little show.
Just remember, if something hurts, just keep on yanking on it.
So the new one is I say just keep circling, you say just keep yanking.
Yeah, in reference to your toe.
But that will lose its meaning over time. It'll just be you saying just keep yanking it at the end of the show.
Yeah, I know.
All right, I like it. Just keep circling, guys.
Just keep yanking it.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.